What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Dillard, bringing you guys another podcast with my co-host, John. We've got quite a bit of stuff to talk about. Obviously, the trade deadline. The Yankees have not been playing too well as of lately, so that doesn't help matters. But really the big thing that we're going to be talking about is obviously the trade deadline, whether we agree with what the Yankees did, whether we disagree, how they would have handled the situation differently. We all have our differing opinions, so let's go ahead and talk about that. So obviously, I think the first most important thing I should do, before we talk about that though, I almost forgot, I wanted to show you this, Chad. I know you've been to PNC, and I got this. I got this baseball.
Oh, nice.
I just kind of wanted to show it real quick before we got into the trade deadline. I know it's not Yankee.
I have the souvenir cup, that's all I got.
Well, yeah, if you see, I know you can't see over there as well, but there's like all that stuff I have on that big dresser over there. There's a bunch of baseballs over there. All those baseballs I've gotten from the stadium that I bought it from. So I still need to buy a display case for this one. I haven't bought it yet, but I thought I would show you that before we started, because that's my favorite baseball so far, and PNC was by far the best baseball park I've been to as of yet.
It's a really nice place.
But anyways, going back to the trade stuff, obviously Yankees traded for reliever Kanan Middleton and Spencer Howard. Middleton was with the White Sox, and then Howard was with the Texas Rangers. Middleton is a career 4 ERA pitcher in 180 innings, so definitely room for improvement. The one thing that I really like, and I know we talked about this before we even started the podcast, he's got a K per 9 of 11, almost 12, 11.64 to be exact, which is really, really good. On the flip side, though, the problem that he mainly has is he has good stuff, like we talked about before the podcast, but he just can't command it. He has issues, and he gives up too many meatballs.
Really
Yeah. Hence he almost has a 4 BB9, which especially for a reliever is really bad, not good. And then he has a 1.73 home runs per 9, which is also not very good for a reliever, especially a reliever. But kind of going back to me talking about the command, he does have a really, really, really good whiff percentage. And I know you mentioned that from StatCast before we did the podcast. 95th percentile for whiff percentage, which is really good. I like that. That complements, obviously, the 11.64 K over 9. So he's got good strikeout stuff, good filthy stuff that he can put batters away with if he can command and attack the strike zone. But again, like the home run suggests, not give up stuff over the heart of the plate. He's got to work the edges and corners a little bit more. But again, to complement the whiff percentage, the 95th percentile for whiff percentage, he also is top 12%, for K percentage. So again, strikeout percentage makes sense because 11.64 K per 9. And he's top 12% for chase rate. So it just, all in all, complements all the good stuff that he has. He just needs to stop walking batters, and he needs to stop giving up home runs. And that really just all comes down to command. So Matt Blake, I'm very curious to see what he can do with him. In the moment, whenever the trade happened, and obviously we'll talk about like our real intentions and feelings about how we thought the Yankees could have handled this better. In the moment, everybody was very, very upset. And I still am obviously very, very upset about it. I think things could have been handled much, much better from two different viewpoints, either one. But Middleton does have a lot of promise. He's obviously not all the Yankees should have done if they decided that they felt like the team that they have put together is still a championship caliber team. If they would have added some more bats or something, then it would have been, I don't think it would have hurt to get a reliever or two. Like you can never have enough pitching depth. At least that's just kind of what I think. That's my viewpoint behind it. But kind of the whole point I'm getting at here is Middleton has good stuff, and I'm really curious to see how Matt Blake will handle it. Now, Spencer Howard, on the other hand, I don't know anything really about him. I talked to one of my friends who's a big Rangers fan, and he's like, I don't know what you got going on with this. Like, he was not good with the Rangers. Yeah.
It was a really highly rated prospect.
But
I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Milton, I think, actually.
But
Howard was also Howard was also a top ranking prospect too, but he really fell off.
Yeah, and kind of to go off you saying that he fell off, he's a career 7.20 ERA pitcher in 115 innings, which is just really, really, really bad. The one thing that really, really scares me too, which is probably why his ERA is so atrocious, 8.10 BB over 9. That's really, really hard to walk that many people.
That's like the Yankees just did tonight. I mean, we walked at least 7 people tonight.
And even worse, he has a 2.70 home run per 9. Those are both this season. Now, I understand that that's a much smaller sample size, but still, that's very, very, very bad. And this year, he's also worth negative 0.5 FWAR, so negative 0.5 wins, which obviously also does not help matters further. I definitely think he's going to be one of those guys that will come into the game when the Yankees are getting their teeth knocked in for now. Unless Matt Blake can work some miracle magic like I know he has done in the past. Don't really know what their plan with Spencer Howard is. That trade from the get-go really just confused me. I have no idea what they're planning on doing. At least the Middleton one makes sense because they like his stuff. That's probably what it comes down to. They like his command, or not his command. They like his stuff, and if they can help him work on his command, then he'll be a great reliever, I think. Obviously, Matt Blake has shown that he's been able to fix guys before. But Spencer Howard, I have no idea. Maybe you can give me your take on Middleton and especially Howard.
Spencer Howard doesn't matter. You didn't give up anything to get him. I mean, who cares, right? I mean, he's a AAA pitcher now for us. We gave up cash for him. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't. The only thing that could be for me is upside. Like, there's no downside to it. You didn't do anything. You didn't give up anything to get him. He's free. He's a guy who is a former second-round pick. Maybe you can fix him. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they see something in him. But he's just a depth piece at this point. You know, maybe he's a guy you use once in a game, like you said, in a blowout. You need a pitcher to just go eat up innings. You just throw him out there. I really don't know. Middleton, I mean, look, the guy throws exceptionally hard. I mean, like, the only thing I look at is I look on Savant, and I don't know what happened. For some reason, he's throwing 44% changeups this year, and he's throwing 27% fastballs. I mean, look, I don't know who said this quote, but it's a quote that I live by, which is that if your main pitch that you throw is an off-speed pitch, if that's your number one most used pitch, if your number one most used pitch is an off-speed pitch, that's not an off-speed pitch. That's just your normal speed pitch. So that's why people are probably teeing off on him right now, because he's 44% changeups. Like, who told him to do that? His changeup was 17% in 2022 and 12% in 2021. He's throwing almost 50% changeups, which is like 87 miles an hour. Like, that's not good. I don't know who, like, Matt Blake was going to make him throw a lot more fastballs for sure, but, like, I don't know who told him that.
Yeah, it's not like a Canely situation where he has other pitches where he can set up the changeup as a strikeout pitch. He's just lobbing changeup after changeup. Yeah.
Canely's best pitch is this changeup. This dude throws 97 miles an hour, sometimes touches 100. Your fastball is your best pitch when you throw 97 miles an hour. Like, there's no need for you to be screwing around with off-speed pitch. It's like when you and I used to watch Chapman. The guy throws 103 miles an hour, and he's out here trying to throw splitters. Like, just throw a fastball. You can't hang a fastball. Throw a fastball. It's like when you see Altuve hit a home run off of Chapman to go take the Astros to the World Series. He hangs a fastball in the upper quadrant of the strike zone. Just, you can't hang a fastball. You're going to get them swing and miss eventually if you throw enough fastballs. So, that's your bread and butter. Like, why are you messing around with off-speed pitches? Throw it by him. Like, I don't care. Just throw your best fastball. You got it. Anyway, I mean, like, I think he'll be an interesting piece. I mean, obviously, you don't have to give up much to get him. I think it was probably going to be like a Rule 5 guy, probably a nobody. I mean, if he can, it's very similar, in my opinion, to Albert Abreu. If he can throw enough fastballs, he's a very effective reliever. But he's got to find the zone. And hopefully, like you said, Matt Blake is going to work on some stuff with him. Better hurry though, because he's a rental. So I mean, like, that's the part that made no sense to me. And maybe you're going to talk about this in later, but I don't understand picking up a rental bullpen arm. Like, I don't get it. Like, we have enough bullpen arms, I think, in my opinion, right now. I mean, in a perfect world, when you get to the playoffs, like, if this team gets in the playoffs, by the way, I'm not saying it's a guarantee anymore at this point. If you get to the playoffs, you're going to run a 4-man rotation, which means you're going to get, let's say your rotation is going to be Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Nestor Cortez, and then one of Luis Severino and Domingo Germán. And the other one goes to the bullpen. So you're going to get a bullpen arm anyway, by design, when the season ends. You're going to call up Ron Marinaccio back up when he figures it out. You're going to have Jonathan Loaizaga come back. Like, this team has too many bullpen arms right now. You should be trading bullpen arms, not stockpiling bullpen arms. Like, you should have traded Wandy Peralta, who is a free agent at the end of the season. Like, you do not need more bullpen arms. You have enough bullpen arms. Unless you're going to be pitching a bullpen day, you don't need this many bullpen arms. It's just like, why? You could have done anything else. And the only thing we added was a bullpen arm and a guy with an ERA so high that you would think that he'll be selling mattresses next week. I don't get it.
Yeah, kind of. To talk about your point, I was going to talk about this much later, but I did want to mention, because you were like, I don't understand why we're trading for rentals. The Yankees, and the fact that you said we have a lot of arms in the pen anyways, the Yankees rotation this year, right? And I looked at I even put the live stats in to include tonight too. The Yankees rotation, as it sits, has a 3.09 ERA. That is the best in baseball. It just doesn't make any sense to me. At all. You don't need to trade for relievers. That's not going to help you to the promised land. That was never the goal in mind.
I don't care if you have a copy of Mariano Rivera at every single position in your bullpen. If you don't score runs, it doesn't matter how many runs you prevent. Because eventually, like we saw against the Orioles a couple nights ago, where Garrett Cole pitches a tremendous game, and eventually you don't score any runs, and eventually one of their hitters runs into one, and you lose 1-0 in an exceptionally frustrating game because one of the potential Cy Young frontrunners gives you 7 strong innings, no runs, and you basically put up a donut. I don't get it. Like, you needed offense, and you just looked at every single person and went, nah, we're good. Like, just anything. Like, I don't even care. Like, it didn't need to be a superstar. You don't need to go sign Ohtani right now. I want him, but like, you don't need to trade for Ohtani. You don't need to trade for Soto. Just get a couple average bats in this lineup. Like, that's an improvement. An average bat is an improvement to what we have right now. Like, the only above average bat we have right now, other than Judge, he came back. But like, the only other above average at bat is Gleyber Torres. That's it. Everyone else is below average. Rizzo has a 53 OPS plus since May. He's the second worst player since June. Is a 266 or like a 227 slugging percentage. How do you keep playing that?
Yeah. Well, now that you mention it, I think it would probably be the right time for me to go into this whole list of things that have been going wrong since the month of June. I'll just go ahead and say it since you already said it, but for a second time, Rizzo, specifically in the WRC department, for those who don't know, is basically just Fangraph's version of evaluating hitters, and in my opinion, it's the best way to accurately evaluate a hitter. Some people use OPS Plus. OPS Plus is really good too. It's honestly just a personal preference. I honestly like to use both of them, but mostly WRC Plus because at least Fangraphs updates WRC Plus daily.
Not creating runs. That's for a fact.
Well, no, he's not, because Rizzo has dropped from, and I'm not even kidding,
doesn't matter what metric you use.
A 146 WRC Plus. Rizzo was at 146 WRC Plus at the end of May, so May 31st, 146 WRC Plus. 46% above league average with the bat. He went from that to a 99 WRC plus in 2 months. Do you realize how difficult that is?
That's really tough.
To do that poorly for a straight 2 months? That is impossibly challenging to be able to pull that off in 2 months. And like you said, second worst WRC plus in all of baseball in that same time period.
Since June. If you go back to May, he's number 1. He's 53. Like, I don't care if you use OPS Plus or WRC Plus. Either way, he sucks. Like, I don't care. Like, there's no way to say it. This is good. He sucks. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. Maybe he's hurt. Okay, fine. If he's hurt, bench him. Put DJ at first. Bring up some young people. Like, just, I don't care. Just do something. Just go away for a while. Like, I remember, like, back when Nestor was hurt, like, when he went on a 60-day IL. We're just like, oh, okay, maybe this is a phantom IL, just give him a little break, because that's happened in the past. But no, he's actually legitimately hurt. Put Rizzo on the phantom IL. He's not having fun. We're not having fun. No one's having fun. Just sit him down, get someone with like, I don't know, a pulse in there that can make contact and put a ball in play somewhere, or take a pitch once in a while. When was the last time he walked? When was the last time Anthony Rizzo took a walk? That was not a hit by pitch. I want to go look this up.
I can't remember. All I see Anthony Rizzo doing all the time is strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. That's really all it's become. It's really sad.
Either, like, he's become a true 2-outcome hitter, either a ground out or a pop fly. Like, that's it.
Yeah. But like, yeah, again, it's just like, it's impossibly challenging. It's literally almost just impossible to be that bad. That's like entering like Chris Davis territory.
Oh,
like, just
okay, I'm sorry.
Horrendous.
I'm sorry.
It's
he walked
bad.
on July 29th. And then if you want to, look, he's, okay. I'm sorry. I've been a little unfair to him because he walked 7 times in July. That's impressive. 7 times in July. 7! 7 times in July. Are you kidding me? How many strikeouts did he have in July?
I don't want to know, but you're going to tell me anyway, so I'm just prepared to accept it the way it
7,
is.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 5, 26, 20, 27! 27 times!
And
what?
he just had a platinum sombrero the other night against the Orioles, too.
Yeah. Amazing. In the month of July, in games he's played in, he has 1 home run, 4 RBIs, 7 walks, 27 strikeouts, a hit by pitch, 4 grounds and double plays. He has a win probability added of negative 0.8. Like, you can't keep playing that. I don't care. Play Jake Bauers at first. Like, I really don't care. Just, you can't keep doing this.
I actually would be a fan if they moved Jake Bauer. I know he was leading off tonight, or now yesterday when this podcast comes out, but I would honestly like to see Jake Bauers hitting after Judge to give him a little protection, because he's one of the only guys who's actually doing anything with the bat.
Yeah, do something. Move Judge down in the lineup. Like, I don't care. Like, make it so that way, there's somebody in front of him that's going to benefit from getting a pitch to hit, because they don't want to walk the guy in front of Judge, because that means that you have to walk Judge too, or pitch to Judge.
Yeah, but
what's Trey Mancini doing right now? It cannot be that much worse than Rizzo is. 72 OPS plus. That's shocking.
So I did want to kind of get into a little rant here, obviously, because there's no way it's not going to already happen. So I'm just going to name off all this stuff, like just rapid fire, and you can just kind of, you can feel however you want. You're just probably going to be really disappointed and sad when I mention all this, but these are things that are very key elements that I think need to be listed off and talked about. And I don't think enough people are talking about some of this. Some of this people are talking about, but other things, not so much. So rapid fire, real quick, just to kind of go through the trade deadline a little bit. They had the 2 relievers, right? Which they didn't need because the Yankees.
When's the starting pitcher? I wouldn't even call him a reliever.
Well, yeah, but anyways, you get 2 pitchers that you're gonna throw in the pen. One guy's gonna be in AAA.
One's in AAA,
which he already actually. I just saw the tweet not too long ago that the Yankees basically sent him to AAA.
And the AAA. Yep. You go away.
So you have 2 of those pitchers. Even though your bullpen is the best in the league, like I mentioned earlier, you add no outfielder. They didn't do anything to address the outfielder situation back before the 2023 season even started, which I understand that they re-signed Judge and they signed Carlos Rodon, but that was also something that they needed to fix too, was their outfield. Because, let's face it, I love Bauers, don't get me wrong. He's a great hitter, but he should be playing first base.
Should be playing first base.
And he should not be playing outfield. He's not a good outfielder. And you're also, with all due respect, you're running Billy McKinney out there, who turns out he's a better hitter right now than Rizzo, Stanton, and all your heavy hitters. So you have that, right? DJ cannot hit a breaking ball to save his life. He literally can't. He's allergic to it. He has almost a 23% K percentage. That is so much higher than it's ever been in his career. It's not even close. He's also hitting a career low 232. He's a contact hitter. He's become from a contact hitter to not even making contact and just whiffing on everything, especially breaking balls. So that's a big problem. Again, just to kind of mention again, Rizzo, 146 WRC plus to 99. He went from almost elite, like elite territory, to below league average. So you have that. This one, I don't get this one either. Stanton, 89 WRC plus, career low. His line drive percentage is below 12. It's like, what is going on with him? He cannot elevate the ball and level out his swing. It's just like, it blows my mind that his line drive percentage is so low and his ground ball percentage is scorching high. And then you have
something really quick about Stanton.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to point out is the whole thing about that Stanton came onto this team, and this was I heard this on the radio today, that Stanton came onto this team and he was a top third in the league in sprint speed, and now he's in the bottom 4% of the league in sprint speed. Now either every single person in the league has turned into an Olympic athlete overnight, or Giancarlo Stanton has somehow had his legs surgically removed, or he has no more ACLs, because I don't know how the hell this guy loses all this sprint speed in like 5 years. Like, he's 33 years old. Like, I don't know, man. I've seen marathon runners at like 40 and 50 run the Boston Marathon just fine. This man can't even jog from bed to the breakfast table without needing to, like, someone to give him like one of those energy pouches that, or like what's the cotton candy lean thing they have in the dugout. I don't even know what the hell they're using, but it's so frustrating. Like, you know how they have the oxygen tank for you, like whenever the running back makes a huge run in the NFL, like they got the oxygen tank on the sideline. They give this dude one of those things whenever he runs 10 feet. Unbelievable. Like, what are we doing? How has this happened?
So yeah, there's that. That's not the only thing. So if we're gonna talk about it, obviously Donaldson contract wasn't worth it. Terrible decision.
Bro, I saw Max Goodman say that, oh, Donaldson can come off this, he's ready to play. And I'm just like, shut up. No, just let him go. I don't want to see Josh Donaldson here anymore. I know he has all these home runs. I don't care, dude. He's hitting 127. Like, I know that you and I both hate batting average, but that sucks. That is so bad. Like, I'm not going to criticize someone for hitting like 180. Like, you know, when Gary hit 180, you know, he did it, like, he created a lot of runs. Great. Donaldson, he can't hit a fastball anymore, and he just lucks into one every once in a while. He puts the barrel out and hits it. Like, it's just, I don't know what happened to him, too. He's just a shell of himself. Let it go.
So there's that.
Hair and all.
Obviously, I know you mentioned Glaber overall has been above league average, but it doesn't help that in the middle of all this right now, Glaber has an 88 WRC plus. Yeah. He technically has an 88 WRC plus since June. I know that he had that hot streak in there in between. Yeah. But he also
is on his way to breaking his career high and grounded into double plays. And it's exceptionally frustrating, like tonight. Yeah. I've never heard Susan Waldman get disappointed, but when Judge singles to get on, and then Glaber comes up and hits and swings at the first pitch, and grounds into double play, even Susan Waldman was like, "First pitch, the first pitch," and I'm just like, "Yeah, Susan, he swung at the first pitch."
So yeah, it doesn't help that he has been cold in the last 7 games, you know, and then obviously Bader 66 WRC plus since June hasn't done anything. Volpe 83 WRC plus hasn't done anything. He remains super inconsistent.
If this team is playing as well as they should be playing, this team is playing as well as we expect them to be playing, Volpe doesn't matter. Like, this, he's just learning on the job and no one cares. Like, I understand, like, Volpe is like one of the person on this team. I will give him a pass.
Yeah, I'm willing to give him a pass.
But everybody else has no excuse. No excuse. None.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, Volpe, obviously it sucks, but if there's anyone who's going to get a pass, it's him, because he's a rookie. At least they're playing him. I will give them credit for at least they're trying to play him. So
yeah, I'll give them all the credit they deserve for that. I mean, I honestly, truthfully, I didn't expect them to, you know, stick it out as long as they have here at this point, but
yeah.
Honestly, not bad. And speaking of that, though, they need to play more rookies. You know, like you and I discussed earlier, I want to see Everson Pereira come up here. I want to see Estevan Florial come up here. I want to see Jake Bowers playing first baseman. I want to see Oswald Peraza playing in the infield. I don't care. This team needs something. You need to see what these guys have at this point. You know, what's the worst that can happen? They lose? This team is losing anyway. There's nothing. Like, yeah, they brought the tying run to play tonight, but I disagree with the move in the first place. Like, I personally think that IKF should have sat there, and then you pinch hit McKinney with Giancarlo in that situation. But what do I know? I don't know, man.
Well, if there is any bright spots, here's 4 bright spots that I mentioned that I wrote out and found with information.
I didn't expect that many bright spots. I expected there to be 1.
And speaking of the pinch hit thing that you just said, and we talked about
The only bright spot is I'm gonna die one day.
IKF has 113 WRC plus since June, and overall has played much better.
Should have stayed in the game.
He's overall played much better in the last 30 games. Then you have, we talked about Bowers. Bowers, 129 WRC plus since June. Great bat. Not worried about him in the lineup. McKinney has 117 WRC plus since June. He doesn't play all that often, but when he does, he makes the most of it. So he's been solid too. And then obviously the main kicker or the main headline is obviously Aaron Judge is back. But the problem with that is that Aaron Judge, he's had 2 games, I think, right? I know his first game back, he had 3 walks. I think there was another game that he had 3 walks, if not 2.
Yeah, he had 3 walks the other night against Tampa
but
when we
lost. The problem is that no matter how much he produces, he can do all he can. He can get on base through a single, double. He can walk. Unless he's hitting a home run, it just seems like it doesn't matter right now because even when he gets on base, nothing happens. You talked about, I'm assuming when you said Susan was really mad, I'm assuming she was talking about when Judge singled, got on first, and then Glaber immediately doubled. That's what you're talking about, is it?
Immediately. It was a room service double play. Immediately, right away. I'm just like, didn't do anything. No, nothing. Don't move him over. Don't take a pitch. Don't make the guy work. Immediately let him off the hook for giving up a single to Judge. I'm just like, I love how that's our high point. You talk about that's like you talk about the things to look forward to. The bright spots. The bright spot is, oh my God, one guy is hitting above average. Let's have a party. Instead of having like 1 or 2 people doing well, one guy is hitting above average. Yeah. Oh my, that's it. We're on track for the World Series now. One guy is hitting above average. Amazing.
So the last thing I kind of want to talk about, because we are going pretty long right now, but that's all right because we needed to talk about stuff with the trade deadline. I wanted to talk about some of Cashman's quotes, and I hope that you just kind of let me rant for a few minutes on this because this is kind of the main point of the video that I want to talk about, and that really extremely frustrates me. It really annoys me. It makes no sense. I don't understand it. Maybe someone who's more intelligent than me can give me some positive feedback on why they decided to do this. But as far as I know, and we both talked about it, and I've seen nothing but negativity about it on Twitter. So as far as I know, there's like no one who would agree with this move in the first place. But that is, let's talk about one of these Cashman quotes. So one of them says something about, we're in it to win it. We stayed the course because of that. This was the best play for us with the team we have, still within striking distance. And then Brian Cashman basically talked later on and pinpointed when he was saying that, he was talking about the return of Nestor Cortez Jr. and Jonathan Loaizaga, which, cool. I can't wait for Nestor to come back. I can't wait for Loaizaga especially to come back. You know how much I love Loaizaga. Cool, whatever. Another quote. There wasn't a big thing to add, to be quite honest, that was going to solve the immediate problem that we had. There's another one. And then the last one, which is, I think, just the cherry on top, is literally, in quotations, constrained by a budget. We talked about this before the podcast. I gave you my honest opinion. Now I'm going to give everyone who watched this video my honest opinion about it. How can you be constrained by a budget when you had at least over $290 million to work with? I think specifically $293 million to work with. And don't get me wrong. We talked about this before. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Hal is obviously free of criticism by any means. But Cashman is the one who spent all this money recklessly. I mean, you start with the Donaldson contract alone is just abysmal. Stuff like Rodon, I don't like when people say something like along the lines of, oh, Rodon's washed. I think it's way too early to say something like that, considering he just came back from an injury and didn't pitch for months and months at a time. So for Rodon, and especially since Rodon is on a 5-year contract, I'm willing to give him a lot more, leniency. I'm willing to give him a lot more time. I think it's way too early to give up on Rodon, in my opinion. But again, kind of talking about the budget thing, over $290 million to work with. That is plenty of money to work with and build a respectable team. But it has not worked in his favor. It has completely backfired. Again, Yankees are also worth $7.13 million. So, there also is a bit of information too. But kind of like to go back on everything that has happened. Like, you have that much money to work with. You have the Donaldson contract that didn't work. And I know not all of this is his fault in the sense of the players, and they still need to perform. But again, Stanton, 89 WRC plus. Rizzo has been really bad. DJ can't hit a breaking ball. All of these things that are going on at the same time and have been going on for at least 2 months now, 2 full months, June and July, and we're already not off to a hot start in August because they did not look very competitive at the plate until the 9th inning, and then Stanton completely got destroyed by Pete Fairbanks. And we're not going to get into the whole pinch hitting thing because, it probably would have been much better position for IKF to be in that position. But again, Cashman had all of this stuff, all this money to work with, and he didn't even think about addressing a bat or an outfielder to fix the problem before the season even began, let alone didn't address the problem when you had plenty of time at the deadline. You could have went after Cody Bellinger. I know Cody Bellinger got taken off the trade block because the Cubs started winning a lot of games. I think the Cubs won like 8 or 9 in a row, at least 7 in a row. I think it was either 7 or 8 in a row. It might have been 9 in a row, but they went on a run and the Cubs put themselves back in the playoff picture. So obviously that was out of the question. It's whatever, but you could have done something like, I don't know, gotten a package deal with like Jeimer Candelario, who's above league average bat. You could have also maybe included Lane Thomas, who's also above league average bat. They're both like 115, 120 plus WRC plus hitters, which is at least 15% above league average, aka way better than most of the roster that is in the lineup at this current moment in time. I mean, there's other bats that they could have done. I know we talked in the podcast or before the podcast. I asked you about Tommy Pham. You said that they wouldn't, you don't think the Mets would have traded with them.
No.
That's reasonable to say. But again, I don't feel like that he tried hard enough. There was other people that he could have gotten that weren't just Bellinger. I mentioned Jeimer Candelario and Lane Thomas because they're both good bats. I know Jeimer plays solid defense at third base. They're better bats, way better bats than what you have most of in the lineup right now. Obviously not better than Judge. But like Lane Thomas would be like the second best hitter on the team right now if they had him. Candelario would be in the same range as Jake Bauers right now. But the good thing with Candelario, he plays solid defense. He has like 6 outs above average. 6 outs above average. So it's like he plays good defense. You got the defense there. And if, you can always move Bauers. You can move Bauers to first base, and then you could put Lane Thomas in the outfield. Like, that helps solve your problem. You get bats in the lineup, and then you also fill the hole in the outfield for defensive purposes too, with a good solid bat. And I mean, there's other possibilities that they could have done, or at least Cashman could have done. And again, it's just very frustrating because you go after 2 pitchers, one that's, I don't know if he's ever going to get called up to the Yankees anyways, unless if he pitches, he's going to pitch in a game where it's a blowout. Like, he's not going to be a trusted reliever right now. He's not going to be a high leverage guy or anything like that. And the other one, we have no idea if Matt Blake is going to be able to fix him or not. Regardless, if he has the arsenal, he has to command, stop walking people, stop giving up home runs. So you literally just don't know. And that's what's so annoying is that if you were gonna get these relievers for a bullpen that it doesn't need any relievers anyways, and they could have, again, kind of going off tangent, but in terms of like getting Candelario or Lane Thomas or whoever who can actually hit a baseball at a consistent level right now, you could have traded relievers that were really, really good if you didn't decide to trade. Like if you were like, oh, I'm going to decide to sell. We're just going to sell. The season's a wash. You could have traded a lot of relievers and gotten some value, like Wandy Peralta, Clay Holmes. There's no way you're not getting a decent amount of value out of Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes has been borderline unstoppable for the longest time, like the last 30 innings. His ERA is just absolutely mind-boggling. It's nuts how good he's been. He's been obviously like one of the most reliable relievers the Yankees have had in a long time. There's plenty of guys that you could have gotten value from if you decided to sell off, or if you choose to buy and you're like, okay, we're just going to go for it. You could have made the improvements with Candelario or Lane Thomas or something, and you didn't do it. You didn't do anything. You just stuck in the middle ground and said, we're completely content. We're completely satisfied with the fact that more than half of the people in this lineup that should be hitting above league average, if not way above league average, are not doing so. They're all hitting up under league average. No one is doing anything. It's just a colossal train wreck. And it's like, I can't even blame the pitchers. Like, I understand Carlos Rodon didn't have the best outing, but does it really matter when your offense can't score any runs? Constantly in danger of getting shut out on every other night, scoring 0, 1, 2 runs every game? That's just not a formula for success. The Yankees are not the Tampa Bay Rays right now. They don't have all these insane starters and insane relievers in years past where the Rays could get away with winning games 1-0, 1-2, 2-1, 2-3, very close ball games like they used to. Now, that's not obviously really an issue for them now because their offense has been much better this year in general. I know that they hit a roadblock the last month and did really poorly, but I mean, their offense compared this year, compared to other years in the past, is night and day difference. It's way better. But in years past, they had to win most of their games by keeping the opponents to 0, 1, 2 runs, low scoring games, because they couldn't afford to give up a bunch of runs because their offense couldn't score a bunch of runs. But the Yankees can't, it doesn't matter. Garrett Cole, you said earlier, Garrett Cole pitched that wonderful outing against the Orioles, and then the bullpen for the most part, obviously was outstanding. Even the home run that was given up, I'm not blaming them. I'm not blaming the bullpen. I'm not blaming any of the pitchers because the Yankees didn't put up more than 0 runs. They put up a donut. It doesn't matter. You lose the game regardless. Regardless of how good your bullpen is, they give up 1 run and you don't score 1 run, it's game over. It doesn't matter in the end. Everything that you were working towards in that game and future games, because it keeps happening over and over again, mean nothing. It means absolutely nothing. So it's just a big question mark. Now, regardless, if you're one of those people who's on the I wish they bought side or I wish they sold side, it doesn't matter. I can see both sides of it. I can understand perspectives from this side and I can understand it from this side. The whole point is he didn't do either one of them. He just stayed in the middle ground, and that was the worst thing the Yankees could do. The only thing that I really think that the Yankees should be doing right now, because like you said, they should be playing the kids. What's it going to hurt? They're going to lose more? Who cares? They're already losing games. Their offense is already not scoring runs. Give the kids, give Everson a shot. He's killing it in AAA. He hits for good contact and he hits for good power. Give the kid a chance to thrive. Because, let's face it, you remember when Hal said, we're not done yet? Some of the acquisitions that came out of that were Willie Calhoun, Billy McKinney, which I'll give Billy McKinney the shout out because he's been good. I put Calhoun on here again. Willie Calhoun and Cole Calhoun. Yeah, Cole Calhoun, then Nick Ramirez, which I do like Nick Ramirez to be fair. Franchi Cordero, Greg Allen, and then obviously Howard and Middleton, which they acquired. And it's like, what are we doing? This is not what a championship level caliber team should be acquiring. They should have much bigger aspirations than this kind of lineup. These kind of players, with all due respect, I wish obviously all of them would do well. All of them would thrive with the Yankees, but it's just not realistic to expect that. There's obviously some players that are really bad or average, and then there's obviously players that are really good or elite, like Judge. You don't ever have to worry about a guy with Judge. But it's just all of these things that have transpired ever since the beginning of the offseason, or I should say the end of the offseason, when they refused to address the problem. They refused to address the fact that they had no outfielder, and they could have. I mean, they ran out Aaron Hicks, and look what happened with that. He got traded to the Orioles, and I'm pretty sure he's doing much, much better with the Orioles.
He's on the injured list.
And then again, though, it's just he still did produce. On the injured list. He still did produce with the Orioles, though. He was doing well with the Orioles before he was on the injured list.
He used to look like, for some reason, he was on the injured list.
But just all of this transpiring from not getting the bat to going all the way down and seeing the offense as bad as it has been for 2 months, and Hal just thinking it's completely fine, and obviously Cashman not getting the acquisitions that he needed to get, whether it was to sell or buy. He could have done either one. He could have worked it out. There's no excuse. There's no way you can sit here and tell me that he couldn't figure out a way to get around that problem. He knew it was a problem. There's no way you can look me dead in the eye and said that he didn't know that it wasn't a problem. Cashman isn't dumb. He's not oblivious. He sees the problem. He's just choosing not to do anything about it. That's the difference. He's not dumb. Hal isn't dumb either. I think these guys are very intellectually gifted people. They're obviously, for the position that they're in, they must be qualified for something, but they just choose to ignore the problems. And this is what happens. You ignore the problem, and this is how bad it's gotten. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I saw something from somebody that works for John Boy Media earlier today, and it said something about the fact that in the last basically like 200 games the Yankees have played, they are basically like 101 and 101. They're like dead even. That's bad. That spans 200 games, spans more than a full season. That's like a season and like almost 2 months, at least a month and a half of another month of data. That's a problem. And we saw what happened at the end of 2022. The offense just fell apart, and Judge had to carry them to the promised land. And that should have been enough to question it and be like, okay, something needs to be done in the offseason. We need to address this because the big problem with this team is the bats. That is the big problem. So that's basically it for my rant. Is there anything else you got? Because I'm pretty much done.
I mean, the only thing I'm going to say is I think this team is built fundamentally incorrect. And I mean, I spoke about this before the podcast began, but I mean, this team, if you go back to what I think is the ideal way that this team used to win championships, is they built from within and they supplemented with free agents. Whereas right now, this team is predicated on everyone being a free agent, and we just don't have any homegrown talent except for Aaron Judge. Like, would you consider Kyle Higashioka a homegrown talent? Like, I think he's homegrown. I don't think he's a talent.
Yeah.
Like, who on this team is a homegrown talent? I'm not counting Glaber. We didn't develop Glaber. I think that a blind man could have developed Aaron Judge. I don't think they developed Aaron Judge. But like, we're not developing any real bats now. Maybe that's because we have the wrong philosophical outlook, or because we're just picking the wrong players. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what Volpe becomes. I don't know. Maybe Peraza will be good. I'm not sure. It seems like every time we develop someone, they're like good for a year and then they just disappear forever, like Miguel Andujar. Or like go back to the core four. Like, we had a core of 4 players and then we supplemented people to make them elite. You know, oh, we need a little bit more power. All right, Tino Martinez, you get in there, man. You know, trade for Tino Martinez. Like, just you supplement the core with talent you get from free agency. But for some reason, it's the opposite now. We have the core that's combined of free agents now, and you're supplementing in more free agents. And because of the fact that you're now constrained on the salary cap because our, you know, what was the word you used? The phrase you used? The budget didn't allow for it. Now we have to go pick up pieces off the scrap heap. Or we have to trade for people and basically pretend like we're the Tampa Bay Rays, and we have to develop people for nothing and take the scraps from the dinner table. Like, it's wrong. And on top of that, where's our left-handed power bat right now? Like, you remember back in the old days, you had, you know, Mark Teixeira, who was obviously a switch hitter, but he would always be a threat on the left side. And you had Curtis Granderson. And you just had these power lefties that always put the fear of God into you for playing at Yankee Stadium. People used to come into Yankee Stadium and pitch all their lefties because they didn't want to have a left-handed bat in the lineup beat them. Like, when did that go away? All of a sudden now, look, I know there's people on this team that can hit the porch as a righty. I understand that, but that should not be what we're looking for here. Where are the switch hitters? Where are the power lefty bats? Like, we saw Matt Carpenter come in here, who was essentially, he couldn't get a cup of coffee with any team in the league. He comes in here, and people to this day still ask me if he did steroids because of how he went off on this team. He's a pop fly hitter. That's all he is. Like, he didn't reinvent the wheel. He didn't change his approach. He just did what he always does. He hits the ball to right field, and there's like an infinite amount of benefits to doing that in this stadium. It's just, it's unbelievable to me that like no one thinks about this. Yankee Stadium, like, we pitch all of our righties here, and teams put like 9 lefties in the lineup, and we're just like, wow, why did they hit more home runs than we did? I don't know. Why did Wander Franco put one on the subway train tracks yesterday? Like, why do you think? Because he's a switch hitting lefty with a lot of power, and that's where the ball goes. It's frustrating, man. Where's my power lefty bat? It was supposed to be Rizzo, and he's nobody now. Like, God, it's like, I don't know what happened, man. Where's this team's offense? Where's the lefty? Where's the switch hitter? Who is a switch hitter on this team other than Aaron Hicks in the last like 10 years? Who?
I mean, like, after what happened to Trevino with the injury, how can we be totally sure that Anthony Rizzo and like DJ LeMahieu and such, like, they're not hurt as well? Especially Rizzo with how bad he's been. How do we know?
Hurt from his toe injury. Like, DJ is what happens to Judge if he doesn't get surgery this offseason. Like, that's what that is. I'm sure Rizzo's hurt. I'm 100% sure he's hurt. Like, we know they're lying to us. This dude is not right. It's like Clint Frazier when he ran into the wall. Like, we know he's not right. Something is wrong there. But, like, they're lying to us. I guarantee you, like, when this team either misses the playoffs or gets bounced from the playoffs, the first thing you're going to hear a week later is, oh, just some off-season surgery scheduled. No, nothing major. Just cleaning some things up. And, oh, by the way, they had to replace his arm. Like, it's just going to be something like that.
Yeah. No, it's super sad, but you're right. It's been like that year after year for the longest time with these injuries and just kind of downplaying them and not taking the injury seriously. That's why, like, with Judge, his toe, like it freaks me out because I don't.
I'm terrified to screw it up.
Yeah, I don't want a player of his caliber and how much you paid for him to turn into basically what like Stanton's become. Like, I don't want that to be even a remote possibility because they didn't address the toe issue. Obviously, Judge looks fine right now. He's fine.
They will.
But it's just like
they will.
There's just so much uncertainty with this team, and the organization itself is just very like their intentions are just not right. Like, they're not right, and they're not telling the truth about a lot of these things that go on, especially when it comes to injuries. And you really are going to upset the fan base. You're really going to make people upset when you do.
I understand gamesmanship. I understand that. I understand that you bench Judge and you say he's available to pinch hit, and I know for a fact that when you say that, he is not available to pinch hit. I know that. You're telling me and you're telling the other team that there is a possibility that you're going to have to face him at some point. So you better be careful with how you deploy your pitchers later, because if not, then we're going to pinch hit Aaron Judge. But I know they're not going to pinch hit Aaron Judge because that's not the way that this team operates. They're way too rigid in their ways. And I know for a fact that they're lying to us. I understand gamesmanship. I, however, do not understand you telling me that Anthony Rizzo is fine, because that man is not fine. There is something super messed up in there right now. And I don't know what it is. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional baseball player. But I know for a fact that watching him that he is not right. And this, like, major league players, unless you're Chris Davis, don't forget how to play baseball in 2 months. It just doesn't happen. Not for 2 months. Yep. Like, what do you mean? This guy's a World Series champion. He's a really good hitter. What's his career OPS plus? Like, what, like 130? Like, there's no way.
I think his WRC plus is at least 130. At the very least.
What's his career OPS plus? Like, I don't know. Let me load this up right now. There's no way.
Yeah, I saw it. I know you mentioned it, and I also saw it from someone else, but I think this team really just needs a big philosophy change.
It's 129. His career OPS plus is 129.
That's really good.
That's really good. He's a Gold Glover, and you see him out there making just the dumbest plays I've ever seen in my life. Like, you just see him just forget where he is on the baseball field.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, half the time it looks like he's at a sushi restaurant instead of at a baseball field. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Or is it a Taylor Swift concert?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's
a video of the Taylor Swift concert.
I definitely think that there's things that they're not being completely honest about, like that. I think he's injured.
That's it. Yeah, I understand gamesmanship. Fine. This is not gamesmanship. You're just lying to me for some reason. Why? I don't know. I'm a big boy. You can tell me he's hurt. I'll be like, okay, fine. Now I don't have to worry about him forgetting how to play baseball anymore because he's hurt. Fine. Just tell me. He's not right.
Yeah, I just think they need a philosophy change. I think a lot of things need to be clean from the team. And I don't know how you feel about this, and I know a lot of people blame analytics for why the Yankees are performing bad. But that's not the problem. I think the problem is how they're applying the analytics. Because how can you sit there and see all the different lineups that they make and tell me that these lineups are analytically driven? There's no way you can tell me that they are. There's just no way.
This was supposed to be Anthony Rizzo's comeback year because there's no more shift. He's a lefty. He's going to have a great year, and he got to a great start. And then all of a sudden, he just kind of doesn't remember how to play baseball anymore. You know, but everything's fine. But no, you're right. The people that like, oh, analytics. You know, I have a dirty secret for you. Analytics fuel the Dodgers, the Astros, the Rays, the Orioles. It's all the same. I think you're right. The problem is they're applying analytics to 35-year-old baseball players, and that just does not work anymore. I think they're looking at the wrong analytics. You know, maybe you just got to go back in time. You know, find some people who are good at getting on base. Maybe that's the answer. You know, stop this whole righty launch angle stuff. Like, give me a lefty power bat. Like, I don't care what his launch angle is anymore. Just give me a guy that makes solid contact often and gets on base. Can I have that? Like, we don't even have that. We just have people who just roll over on ground balls all day long and they're slow as hell and they ground double plays all the time and they can't steal bases and they're unathletic in the field. Like, what happened? Like, can we just get some athletic young people in here for once? Oh, can't do that because they're blocked by Josh Donaldson's contract because he's here for 2 years because he's owed $50 million. Can't do that. Sorry. Like,
yeah,
really?
Obviously, like, I love my power bats and like my sluggers hit home runs a lot, but like,
yeah, I love that.
I agree with you. I don't
need nine of them, though.
I would be fine with a guy who hits a lot of line drives and hits a lot of doubles and singles and occasionally hits home runs. Like, I would be completely.
Oh, you mean like Volpe?
Like, happy with that.
You mean
I'm
like
talking
Anthony
like
Volpe? Yeah.
More double. Like, I'm talking like.
I can't.
I'm talking like specifically like a Jamer Candelario, where he can hit home runs, but he can also hit like a lot of singles and doubles. Like, he just slugs. Like, he just gets on base.
That's what IKF has become. It's what he's done this season. And you know what? Honestly, I'm for it. Give me more of it. I'm enjoying it. A guy who you know is going to give you a good at-bat right now and can hit a single, a double, get on base, steal bases, apply pressure to the defense. Sign me up. Give me like 3 more of those players. That's what we need. No, I'm tired of this. Like, this whole, like, 3 million strikeouts a year. It's frustrating. It's boring. I know you and I are both in the same camp that you and I would both rather see a strikeout than a double play. But for God's sakes, this team gets 3 hits a game. Like, who cares? Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah, strikeouts normally aren't that big of a deal, but when you're like striking out like the night that they struck out against the Orioles, how many times was it? Like 16
times. There's only 27 outs in the game. 18 of them were strikeouts. That sucks.
Yeah, that just can't happen. That's really
against the guy that started the game, went 4 innings.
Yeah.
Like, how? And Rizzo struck out 5 times for the first time in his career. An ungodly number. Something that Arizona Diamondbacks have never done, and the Angels have not had a platinum sombrero in 50 years. And it seems like we have one yearly. Yeah. And it's always a different guy. It's always a different guy. It's unbelievable. Just like, for God's sakes. Look, I don't care about strikeouts, and I don't care about batting average, but this team does not put enough baseballs in play. Like, that's the thing. Like, you do not put enough baseballs in play. I feel like they're always on the back foot, that they're behind, that they're just praying that they can hit a ball and put it somewhere decent. Like, it's unfathomable how poor this team is at making contact. You saw the Rays tonight, or yesterday, whenever this podcast goes up, they had Rodon throw 40 pitches in 2 innings, and he got a double play. Like, they just foul off pitch after pitch after pitch. This one is just like strike 1 looking, strike 2 looking, and he throws a pitch out of the zone, and they're like, oh my God, I was so close to swinging this one out of the ballpark. Like, come on, man. Like, these
Yeah.
at-bats suck. That's the other thing is Boone says they have good at-bats. No, the at-bats suck. IKF's having good at-bats. Everyone else, terrible. Hate it.
Well, Judge is also having good at bats too. We want to mention.
Yeah, they're walking.
That's beside the point.
WRC going skyward.
We already know Judge is going to have good at bats. You don't have to worry about him.
That makes 2 people that have good at bats. Great. Sign me up. That's great. That's a winning baseball formula right there.
Well,
I don't know what the answer is. Like, can we just go back to old Moneyball and just have some OBP guys or something, please? Like, I'm begging you. Like,
I mean, you know how I feel about high on base percentage guys. I love them. I'll take high on base percentage guys any day of the week.
like just
that's the name of the game is to get on base.
An IKF and let me run it. Like, you can have your power bats, you can have your Giancarlo and your Rizzo and your Judge in the middle of the lineup, fine. But is it too much to ask for some people who want to get on base in this lineup instead of trying to hit 5-run home runs every at bat? Like, can I just have that? Like, can Gleyber Torres work on getting at bat and go oppo instead of trying to hit a ball like to the train tracks every time? Like, good lord, man, it's so frustrating. It's boring, disgusting.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking for almost an hour, so I think it's a good stopping point. Is there anything else that you want to mention real quick?
You don't want to get me started on that topic.
I'm done at this point. I have nothing else to offer.
I'm done until tomorrow, and then I'm going to find some more things to yell about tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you guys for listening to us ramble. Definitely let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. Give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you guys on the next video.